Okay.
And community. Ready us to make every moment count. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to
For the Seagate development is going to be or potentially be continued. So we will not be having any public comment during that hearing. So if you have something you'd like to say, you can say it at the beginning at the normal public comment or at the end. But during the hearing, there won't be any public comment. Next,
Thank you to Lee County Commission. Commissioner Ray Sandelli, who will be attending his final meeting tomorrow upon his retirement. Thanks for all he has done for Lee County right now, and they allow us to do what we do, and really appreciate it. So thank you.
very good.
Really appreciate it. So thank you.
Very good. Vice Mayor Adderall.
Just ditto to everything John said.
Okay. That's great.
So that is absolutely fantastic. So that is fantastic. There is still a shift available Sunday afternoon. I'm sure it's because of football, but
Yeah.
other than that, all the shifts are full. So
We missed, but we have a good communication with good relationship with the county going forward. So I'm confident we'll be able to continue that. So I'm hoping he will actually enjoy his retirement reports and appointments. We have Sam Leary here from the Anchorage Advisory Committee. Come on up, Sam.
Good morning. Sam Lurie, Anchorage Advisory Chair. The Anchorage Advisory related topics, Chair. The Anchorage Advisory related topics, current issues include ongoing safety and maintenance of the moorings, marketing, improvement of upland facilities, and our annual Cruisers Appreciation Day party, which is open to the public. The 2025 Cruisers Appreciation Day party will be held just after Easter at a time and place to be determined.
Sam, could you hold on just a second? I just got an email. We're having internet issues again. You guys seeing that back there? Okay. Oh, continue on. Sorry, Sam.
No problem.
We're live. If we stop again, I'll just stop.
Okay.
Good. Can repeat the Cruisers Appreciation Day
Yeah,
party. The
sorry about that.
2025 Cruisers Appreciation Day party which hopefully everyone will attend, is held just after Easter at a time and place to be determined. Nicole Burzin, our town public information officer, has done a nice job for the mooring field by providing easy to find information. Vice Mayor Adderholt is a great committee liaison to council, attending all the committee meetings and providing important guidance to the committee and council. Harbor Master Curtis Ludwig is doing an excellent job operating and maintaining the field and is very popular with the patrons. Captain Curtis provides a detailed report at each meeting to inform the committee and the public on operations and ongoing issues. Public input is always welcome. Any questions or comments?
Questions for Sam? Councilor King?
No, but thank you, Sam.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor Earl.
Thank you for your service, Sam. Just a quick hit. I don't know if this is really public or not, but everything's public in Florida. So I got an email from Doug Spearin Smith, who used to own Matanzas Pass, and I think he still has a relationship with them. And he's talking, I think I forwarded this to you guys, about building a new building next to Harbor House. And he's interested in potentially partnering with the town for upland facilities, which I thought was really interesting. So maybe a longer term solution, may not be, but it's certainly worth. I just thought I'd make sure I don't know if you were aware of that. I just had heard that myself. So it'll be lots of food for thought and discussion.
I just heard that, but they've been a great partner throughout the years. And a couple of years ago, we did a search and finally found Harbor House, and that was destroyed. But in the future, we will be working with council, and hopefully we can do what we did last time. Is you gave us a bunch of different projects to look into. We graded them pros and cons, and then it give you a little head start on selecting. But that sounds like a great opportunity to look into.
Perfect. Councilor Woodson?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good.
All right, thank you for service, Sam. Next, we have Chad. He's with Andrew Site Work to give us an update on the Tier 1 project. Come on, Chad.
Morning.
Good morning.
All right, before I get started, I just want to thank council for allowing me to be here today,
Go ahead,
give an
identify
update.
yourself, Chad, for the record, just so people know who you are.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm Chad Baker with Andrew Sitework, and I am the project manager overseeing the Tier 1 side street project. Today is contract day 260, and there are 1,210 days remaining in our contract. To date, it's a little over 17% the total contract time. And as of today, our total progress on the project is 57.7%. I kind of gave a brief summary of the project the last meeting, but I'll do it again. There's 21,000 feet of new water main, 500 new residential water services, and over 40 new fire hydrants being put in. And then there's 14,000 feet of new storm drain and 223 new storm structures being put in. To date right now, the Tier 1 project is broken into 4 phases, A, B, C, and D. Right now, phase A is 62% complete, and we anticipate 90% completion by March of 25 and final completion by April of 2025. Phase B is currently 63% complete. We anticipate 90% completion by February of 25 and projected final completion by March 2025. Phase C is currently 45% complete, and 90% completion is anticipated by June of 2025, and final completion is anticipated by July 25. And then the last phase, Group D, is currently 58% complete. We anticipate 90% completion by March of 25 and project final completion by April of 2025. Currently, right now, the work going on, all of the water main.
Chad, before you go on, do you have specific streets that are within each one of those phases?
Yes.
Could you read those
Yes.
for each phase so people know what streets are? Or
So
what?
phase A is kind of the biggest group. There's Anchorage Street, St. Peter's, Hibiscus, Coconut, Sable, Randy, Williams Drive, Avenida, Indian Bayou, Widgeon, Flamingo, Curlew, Egret, Ibis, Bayview, Estrelita, and Bahia Villa. That's in Group A. Group B is Fairview Isles. Basically, it's Albatross, Fairview, Clearview, Sunview, and Palmview. Group C is Shell Mound, Madison, Andre Mar, Mandalay, and Gulfview. And Phase D is Mid Island, Bayland, Sterling, Seminole, and Pepita.
Okay, thank you.
Currently, the work right now, all of the water main is put in. So we have finished with all the water main, and we have started on the storm drain. That is for A, B, C, and D. And our project goal, substantial completion by June of 2025 and final completion by July 2025. So basically cutting the contract in half, contract time in half. So
And it'll be completed before the start of the next hurricane season.
yes, that
Or
is the
rainy
goal.
season.
That is the goal. So that's all I have. I'll open it up for open discussion. If you guys have any
Council Kane,
questions?
I have none.
Vice Mayor Hall?
Yeah, just let's appreciate all the data, very helpful, but let's take it up 10,000 feet. So you're talking about putting in all new water mains in these streets, is that correct?
It is completed. Yes. all
Yeah,
the
and
water
when
mains.
you use the term water main, what does that mean to the layperson?
Potable water main. It's what
Use
gives
the
us our
term-
drinking
you
water.
Use the term potable, what does that mean?
Drinking. You're allowed to drink it.
So you
yes,
put in
drinking
brand new drinking water. So these are new pipes, new
Yes.
mains?
Yes.
And then the storm drains are brand new or just being refurbished or what?
Brand new. Yes.
So all these streets will have brand new water mains.
So yes and no. Some of the streets, Group A, a lot of the streets in Group A, Anchorage, St. Peter's, Hibiscus, Coconut, they receive like maybe a storm drain, a little bit of water. So it's not much. The biggest Group A work is Williams Drive, Bahia Villa, and Bayview, which is in Fairview Isles.
When you're doing your work, do you have the flexibility to hear from the various folks who live on the streets? For example, obviously we've had both Helene and Milton, and each street is, I'm sure, somewhat unique. Do you get a chance to sort of adjust mid-course to sort of address some concerns that you hear along the way from people who live along those streets?
Yes, yeah. So we definitely take the residents' feedback, into play, and we take that to our team. Tetra Tech, the engineering firm, we take that to them and say, hey, listen, they saw this, it was coming back feeding through this structure. What do we need to do? Let's put in a backflow or something. So we are working with, the residents. We hear what they have to say, and then we'll take that to the engineering team and we'll address it at that point.
And
Yes.
so you're replacing the water mains because they're old. Is that in essence fair? Is that a simple generalization?
Yes. Yeah. So a lot of the water mains right now, they're smaller. They're either 2-inch. So, I mean, we're upsizing now to an 8-inch. So you're going from a 2-inch to an 8-inch. So,
And that'll give us significant more capacity, obviously,
yes.
correct?
And a lot of water pressure as well. It'll be noticeable. Yes.
And with respect to the storm drains, are those being, is there additional capacity there? In other words, if I'm living on one of these streets and my street is flooding, should I take comfort in these new storm drains that are going in? And if so, why?
Yeah, so definitely. So right now, a lot of the storm drains that we're seeing are 12-inch, and we're upsizing to an 18 or 24. So you're almost doubling, tripling the capacity of what was there to what is now going to be put in. So it can definitely take, a lot more rain and runoff. So I would definitely, by the end of the project, yes, it will. You should be able to be comfortable knowing that, yeah, your street is not going to flood and the rainwater will be draining off.
Aside from the water mains and the storm drains, are you taking other steps to try to negate some of the flooding dynamics that occur on these streets?
So what we've done is we've gone in and graded swales, where even if it doesn't really say we need to grade swales, we go and put swale in
Could you-
because it'll promote the drain.
Again, just take it up 10,000 feet. When you're grading a swale, what does that mean to the layperson who may not be from Florida?
So your right of way right now is flat, right? And so the drainage, when it rains, the water really doesn't have anywhere to go. So when we say grade a swale, we'll go in there and we'll put basically essentially we're just going to take it from flat, put in a little ditch, and it will make it flow. So that runoff now that goes from the road will enter the drainage swale and go to where it needs to go.
And where it needs to go is to the bay?
Yes, correct.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate your
Of
efforts.
course.
Yep.
Council Woodson?
So I have a question. Bahia Villa,
Hear you.
oh, sorry. Bahia Villa in particular. Is it because it's not complete yet? Because that road is still flooding like crazy.
Yes.
And it's because what still needs to be done?
So recently, last week, we put in the last structure on Bahia Villa, which was the baffle box. So that separates the trash debris before it goes to the outfall. So that was the big structure on that road. And then what we also did is halfway down the road, there's another outfall on the left-hand side where we had put in mitered ends, some cross drain and mitered ends. So that allows the water now to enter that structure and go to the outfall, which is the bay ultimately. So I would say right now, as of last week, there will be noticeably difference, in the flooding on Bahia Via specifically.
So if we get all these big rains this week and everything that they're talking about, that we should not
That's correct.
See
yes.
flooding?
That's correct.
see how that goes.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, how do you spell your last name?
Yeah. And you want to announce your phone number.
I would like to jump in though. In all seriousness, that is one of 3 streets that we have that are at or below sea level. So it's hard to push when you have water. And theoretically, in a regular rainy season event, this should really help a lot, getting the water where it needs to go. When you have water rising because of storm surge or storm flow and trying to push against that, that's where we run into problems when you see the standing water.
And does Bahia Via have a duckbill on the end of it at its outfall?
It has 3 that were proposed, and we added 1. So
Okay.
it has 4 now.
Oh,
Yes.
great.
Also, as we do the 7-Eleven property, and as we do some control there, some water control, stormwater control, hopefully that'll help with the part by the new town hall, because there's not the back ditch. We're going to try to connect to that as well to get creative a little bit, to help with a little bit of water.
So with those streets being, like you said, a few streets are under sea level to begin with, is there any thought for the future of building those streets up?
Unfortunately, in order to do that, you'd also have to be raising those houses too, because by
Oh.
raising just the pavement,
It's gonna
you're going to
come
create a
into it.
bigger problem where
Gotcha.
that water is going to flow into the yards even worse.
I got you.
So it kind of goes back when those things were first platted. There wasn't a lot of sight or foresight put into it. And then when they started to build out, the seawall was the first thing to put in. And now your seawalls are right at the cusp of where that sea level is. So it really doesn't take much on particularly those streets, especially at the end. Just for example, I know for a fact that the Millers live down that way,
Right.
and they're constantly fighting that, because as the bay rises and you have any influx of stormwater, or when I say stormwater, not the drain, but with a storm system, it just bubbles up in the back there. So now you're trying to push the street water against the bay water, and it never wins.
Gotcha.
So there's a few things mitigation wise that we can address moving forward. The raising of the seawalls, which Charlotte County has undertaken, the city of Punta Gorda has undertaken a huge effort for that. So we're constantly looking at grants and things like that we can help the residents on these streets moving forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Could I piggyback on Karen's question? Could you just talk briefly? I think Crescent Street is a similar challenge in that respect. And what's being done to try to address the challenges on Crescent Street?
Crescent Street, that was the original part of that first group of Tier 1 that was done, I want to say almost 9 or 10 years ago when this whole thing first started. And we still believe, without further investigation, Andrew Sywork's been very helpful with Mark Ashton, our utilities manager, to get out there and try to look at things. They added an inline, basically it acts as a duckbill, but it's an inline flow valve to keep it from flowing back out. That would be right at 5th and Crescent. I believe we did that to kind of mitigate that. Duckbills along the back end, like we had talked about going back to December. But I believe by looking at the old plans that we came up with a scenario where there might be a lateral going from the bay all the way down to 5th Street and connecting these storm drains to, and that may be impeded somewhat, creating to that issue. That's just going to have to take a lot more in-depth look when we have time to get the right crews out there. These guys have been fantastic in helping us, but that's not their call to duty. We actually need to get a camera crew in there and investigate that lateral line to make sure that that's not collapsed.
Thank you.
Is there a plan to do that? I would hope we're going to have that done
Yes, sir.
before next.
Yes, sir. Yes,
rainy season.
we've already made plans with Earthview was the last group that came out and did it. They're currently doing a lot of our storm drains from Milton, cleaning them out from sand and whatnot. Then we're going to follow back with a camera crew shortly, hopefully by the end of the year.
Counselor Wizard, anything else?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Counselor Stafford?
I'm good.
Chad, just want to first thank you and your entire team for stopping and pivoting and helping us with cleaning up the sand and all the stuff. Anybody that didn't notice, most of your trucks were the ones that were taking care of all of North Estero Boulevard and then going down Estero Boulevard to clean up a lot of that sand and the beach accesses. So thank you to you and your company for being flexible and helping us get that done as fast as we can. The only other thing is, do you have a list of the streets that will be receiving new outfalls? I know you said that you added one to Bahia Via. Could you go through the streets that are going to see outfalls that maybe didn't have one, or we'll see increased ones on their?
So Bayview, Williams Drive, I'll just back up. Williams Drive was one that had an existing, but we had upgraded it essentially. We upsized it. So Williams Drive, it was Bayview, same thing that we are upsizing the existing outfall now. Bahia Villa, we added one outfall, which is right there at the beginning to the right. But we added that one. And then going into B, Fairview, there was an existing, we upsized that. Going into C, Shell Mound and Madison both received them. And then phase D, Sterling and Pepita both are receiving upsized outfalls.
Okay. That's all I have.
Just a couple, just for history purposes, Chad, and I don't expect you to know this. Did your company have the contract prior to Ian
We did
for
not.
the town?
We did not.
And maybe Frankie can help. And it's kind of unfair to you because you weren't here either. But when Councilor, now Mayor Allers, and I were on the council, there was a pretty extensive project ongoing to replace water mains throughout the island. Is this sort of the last third, the middle third? How far along are we on replacing our overall water infrastructure here on Fort Myers Beach?
Well, it was my understanding that when the first tiers, so to speak, they never changed the name, so pardon me on that one. It's always been tier one for whatever reason since it started. They were the ones that put in the original, they swapped out and put new meters in. That's all they did. So where you had a 2-inch meter, they put in a 2-inch meter. Andrew Siteworks actually taken it upon themselves with getting back to Tetra Tech and saying, hey, we need a larger supply in here. The engineers looked at that and came up with this plan.
Frankie, again,
So
for people who are watching, you say they put in a 2-inch meter.
I'm just saying, in years
What's that
back,
do?
before
What's a
Ian,
2-inch meter?
they just replaced for place. So a 2-inch meter is a 2-inch line. So you have a 2-inch water line coming in, and Chad was talking about in some places what 6 and 8 inch. So you're basically tripling the capacity and increasing the pressure with those larger lines.
Which is phenomenal. But I remember on the south end of the island, there was tremendous amount of work going on through some of those where there was new sewer and water going in. Is that Jason? Does anybody remember? Jason, maybe you remember? Could you just give? I just want the public to have a context that.
We can
Yeah, I mean,
definitely pull
but I
that
mean,
up, all that
tens of
work
millions
and
of dollars
report
were
back.
spent prior to this effort. I just want to give people,
Downtown third first.
yeah, and certainly on the south end as well.
Tier one has been going on for about 9 years.
Yep.
The
I
best
just-
as we could find when we
Yeah.
started looking through the
I
records.
want people to have a sense that this didn't just start, and it's wonderful what's happening, but this has been an ongoing process for years. So we basically, by the time this is done, we will have a brand new water infrastructure for our island. Is that a fair, or at least relatively new?
That is correct.
Yeah.
A good portion of it will have brand new. The relatively new will be the remaining part of the island. And we're constantly going and updating certain areas anyway. When we do sidewalk repairs, when we see the need to update, we're updating those areas.
I know the mayor's talked a lot about infrastructure concerns, but we've made a significant investment over the last few years in water infrastructure. Is that-
Yes, and Joe can attest to that. Through Angie Brewer, who does our SRF loans, the loans that we actually take through the state to do a lot of this work. Yes, we have invested a lot of money into the town and its infrastructure as far as potable water and the storm system.
And through the CDBGDR, we're going to upgrade our tank on the north end. We're also the county's going to upgrade their pump on the,
I'll challenge you
across
to,
the
when you
ditch.
say our tank, our storage.
our
tank,
storage
yeah.
tank that the water's pumped and we're going to upgrade that facility to the tune of about $4.5 million coming up.
And since we have a short agenda, the purpose of that storage tank is to do what?
It basically, you get your water taken in from the county utility. We keep it, they usually fill at night, pump during the day.
Helps with the
Help-
pressure.
It helps with the pressure.
That's what I'm trying to, yeah.
As the island builds through all the developments, the proposed developments, the redevelopment of our neighborhoods with new homes, this is going to add, right now, we're currently using our south side tank off of Linnell.
Yep.
And as we progress with the new design and the new building on the north side, what that'll do is it'll equalize the pressure. It'll help so you don't have these sporadic drops in water pressure. We'll maintain a constant water pressure on the island.
I know the mayor appropriately has expressed concerns about infrastructure. I just want to let the public know that we have a plan that's ongoing to address those concerns.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, just to kind of allude a little bit further, my concern is the design of this project was done pre-Ian. And that's why the council is given direction to get a second opinion. Is what we're putting in the ground going to be sufficient for what now we have post-Ian conditions versus what was designed pre-Ian conditions? That's where my concern is. I'm not confident that it is. In speaking with some of your people, they have told me they don't feel confident that it is. And that's why we've directed staff to get a second opinion as to if we're putting something in that's going to be inadequate, we're spinning our wheels. And that's my concern. The other part of it is I know that they're looking at, we don't currently have a connection to Bonita to be able to open a valve. Only we have a valve that goes to Lee County. In times of crisis or storms, we have no other way to get water on the island. So part of the infrastructure, in my opinion, would be to design something to be able to connect to Bonita. One, it gives us a second alternative to be able to get water from another source, maybe at a cheaper rate. And two, if something happens to the north end, we can now still supply the residents from the south end, which we don't have now. So those are the things that I really concerned with. And where are we with getting a second opinion?
Second opinion should be at the next, not this coming MNP, it should be at the next MNP.
Okay.
We should have facts and numbers available to you for that.
Okay.
And then as far as looking at what you just proposed, additional water line, if I'm not mistaken, the city of Bonita gets its water from Lee County as well.
That's
In
fine.
fact, their one water distribution plant is not too far in their jurisdiction. So we would basically be tying into the line that's already there.
But it'd be a redundancy. It'd
Yes,
be
sir.
nice to have a backflow if we need
Yes,
it.
sir.
Chad, since you're here, do you
Yes,
want to comment on do you feel like the capacity that you're putting in place will be sufficient? I know you're biased because you've got the contract, but I mean, what are your thoughts? Just so we have something to compare when we have this. I think it's a great idea. We're having a second opinion. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just curious as to what your thoughts since you're at the microphone.
I think, but just my opinion, I think what we need to see is more, right now it's kind of flat, right? The design is flat. I think that the capacity is there. I mean, a lot of these pipes were upsized in 24 and some of these structures are massive. They're 8 foot deep. I mean, they're big structures, but what we're seeing is a lot of the design is flat. So you really don't have any head pressure to get this water to the outfall and push it through the ductbill and out to the water. So what we're seeing,
when you say the design is flat, what do you mean by that?
so between inverts, you have structure A and structure B. The line in between is flat. Usually, typically, what we'll see is a 1%, a percent of fall to get that water to go to where it needs to go. And what we're seeing right now is it's flat. So we're seeing a lot. That's maybe some of the issues that you're seeing is once the drainage is done, yeah, it's still flooding well because there's no head pressure to get that water out of the structure and to the outfall, in my opinion. So
Is that something that's too late to correct as you're doing your work? It sounds like it would be, right?
for the work that's done, yes. What we have been doing as we go on is we're adjusting the inverts to make it flow. We need something. You need some head pressure to get that water out of there. So we're adjusting the inverts accordingly to make sure that it does flow.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is there a way to create that pressure to push it out now that it's in some sort of mechanical pump or something to be able to push water through there to add later?
You could
Pump
definitely add a
station?
pump. I mean, that's, it would be pricey to add a pump in there. I personally, I think the easiest route would be to just go to adjust the structure at the end and lower that invert to make sure that water
Oh,
goes.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's interesting information.
Less than a 1 degree.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's,
You're not talking about.
you
a
can't
lot.
even, it's,
It makes sense.
Yeah, but it does make a big difference as far as moving.
And Chad, are y'all doing that as you go now, or is
Yes,
that something?
that's
Okay.
correct.
Okay. Any other questions for Chad? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Next is the approval of the minutes from the town council meeting October 21st. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Counselor King,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Safford. Any further discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Next is the consent agenda. There are 5 items. They are all related to the local state of emergency, all 5 of them. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? I'll move.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. Next is items removed. We do not have any items that are removed. That brings us to our public hearings. Do we need to do any swearing in if we're just going to open it?
No, but I would recommend that we read the title of the ordinance.
As it's written?
Yes.
Okay. This is continued to November 18th, 2024 due to state required advertising requirements. It's the second reading of proposed ordinance 24-34 entitled an ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving a home rule development agreement for property located at 3001 Estero Boulevard, 2943 Estero Boulevard, 2932 Estero Boulevard, 211 Denora Boulevard, Fort Myers Beach, Florida, strap numbers 29-46-24-W1-00145.1000, 2946-24-W1-00145.5000, and 30-46-24-W2-00001.0000, and 29-46-24-W1-01208.0010, and owned by Seagate Fort Myers Beach LLC as authorized by Section 2-100 of the town's Land Development Code and in compliance with the procedures for application and approval of development agreements with deviations set forth in resolution number 24-73 for the purpose of redevelopment of the property previously known as the Red Coconut RV Park, providing for terms and conditions, including but not limited to the identification of the proposed use of the property, a finding of consistency with the town of Fort Myers Beach comprehensive plan, commitments and development obligations, deviations needed for the development, providing for other clarifications as necessary, providing for conflicts of law, scrivener's errors, severability, providing for an effective date. We'll now open the public hearing. Is there a motion to continue this hearing to date certain of November 18th, 2024?
I'll move that.
Got a motion by Counselor King,
I'll second.
seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? Counselor King,
Aye.
Counselor Woodson,
Aye.
Counselor Safford.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt.
Aye.
And Mayor Alice is an aye. That motion carries unanimously. That takes us to our administrative agenda. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, ratifying town manager's purchase of a sweeper for $170,000, authorizing budget amendment number 2, and providing an effective date. Joe?
Hey, good morning. It's Joe Wanzik, Finance Director. This resolution accomplishes two things. It ratifies the purchase. It was an emergency purchase for the sweeper that was needed for cleanup after Hurricanes Helene and Milton. This was included. A portion of the funding was coming from the TDC grant that the town was awarded. That would be $67,000 is included in the TDC grant budget. But then there's an additional amount of insurance proceeds, almost $36,000 that is needed to help fund it. And then there's about $67,000 coming from the unspent gas tax revenue that has accumulated from previous years. So in order to fund it fully, the $67,000 grant from TDC was already included in the FY25 budget. But the insurance proceeds, the use of the insurance proceeds and the use of the gas tax fund was not included in the budget. So this resolution includes a budget adjustment so that that would also be included going forward.
Okay, questions for Joe? Counselor King?
None.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Joe, is it true we're buying a multi-hog C350?
Sounds fun, doesn't it?
I think that's
It's
the
kinda
official
cool.
description of it.
Drive it.
Is this, this may be a dumb question, but is it small enough where it could go on the sidewalks?
That's what it's for.
That is the purpose of it.
So it is a sidewalk street sweeper?
Yes.
And that, will Lee County let us use use it on the sidewalks for Estero Boulevard?
Yes.
Because obviously we could use some help. Yeah. That's great. And you're going to be branding this with our town logo, I'm hoping?
Got them already there.
Beautiful.
Sitting
Excellent.
right out here.
It's already been christened.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's all I have.
Okay, Counselor Woodson?
So I've been getting emails about cleaning up the side streets. Would this be something that we could then take upon ourselves to clean up side streets for this?
It doesn't have that much volume. It's really for light duty things, but we are reaching out to our contractor. We've got 3 contractors, try to get them in here to get the side streets cleaned up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Counselor Safford?
Besides our logos, there's some NASCAR opportunities to get some sponsorship decals.
Like a
Thanks,
Zamboni.
like a Zamboni.
Yeah.
Put some stickers maybe.
Multi-hog.
All right, thanks, Joe. Is there a motion to approve resolution 24-219 ratification of $170,000 sweeper purchase and budget amendment number 2?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Counselor Woodson, seconded by Counselor Safford. Any further discussion? Counselor Woodson,
Aye.
Counselor Safford.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt.
Aye.
Counselor King.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving an addendum to the contract between the Town of Fort Myers Beach and Turtle Time, Inc. to add additional terms and conditions to allow the use of federal emergency management funds for reimbursement of expenses incurred by the town and terms and conditions required by Florida law, authorizing the town manager or mayor to sign the addendum and providing for an effective date. Joe?
This is required by FEMA in order to be reimbursed for this expenditure. It's $30,000. It was the services that were provided by Turtle Time was to provide sea turtle nest monitoring and relocation in the emergency burn project area. There was just a clause that was missing from the contract that FEMA required, termination of contract, and that was something that this resolution will be adding to the contract as an amendment.
Okay, questions for Joe? Counselor King?
None.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
None.
Counselor Woodson?
No.
Counselor Safford?
None at this time.
I do not either. Is there a motion to approve resolution 24-222 Turtle Time Agreement Addendum?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
by Counselor King, seconded by Counselor Safford. Any further discussion? Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is final public comment. Anyone would care to speak? Yeah, come on up, sir. Please remember to state your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Frederick Alt, and I have a condo at Gulf West Wind Condos. And I'm just concerned about Seagate's development of the height of the buildings, the 15 stories, if I'm reading this right. And we're right across the street from that. And I know why they're trying to get density. I understand that, but I just think it's a little bit more than what we planned on. I mean, comparison to anything on the island, it'd be probably higher than anything. Am I right in saying it's 15 stories?
I don't know. We don't usually, I'll address it after, I'll have the attorney address it. How's that?
Okay.
And her comments. Answer your
Okay,
question.
so it's a quasi judicial matter. So your elected officials are serving almost as judges. The applicant is not here today, so they're a little hesitant to directly respond to your comments. However, they have heard your comments, and I'm sure that they'll take them into consideration when we have that hearing on the 18th. We'll also be, I'll ask the clerk if she will notify the Seagate to let them know of your concerns as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak, ma'am? No? Okay. Then I will close public comment. Town managers items.
Wow, I was gonna try to be short, but now that I've got about 2 hours, we got plenty of time. No, just kidding. Getting some looks.
I think that was a shot at the vice mayor.
Bring it on. Not really, Vice Mayor, beach renourishment, Chad did a great job Saturday. I didn't know if you wanted to add anything, Chad, with how things are going in this environment, if you don't mind, just kind of talk a little bit about how you see things going in the storage areas and how the sand's being, sifted.
And if you could, Chad, specifically just cover on, there's been some concerns at least that have reached out to me about where it's going to be in relation to the sand sculpting and will it have an effect on where Diamond Head is and progress.
Sure. So Chad Shoots for the record. We couldn't have done any better. Right when the renourishment dredge was supposed to, the timing of it and bullseye right when the sand sculpting was going to happen. So we are planning around it. We've talked to Mr. Neal. I haven't talked to Jackie yet, but I'm assuming Mr. Neal has, and we are going to plan around it, and either we'll get past it or we'll stop before then, and either way the pipe will be buried underneath there. So minimal impact to the event itself. As far as the project overall, we made it to, I think it was just past Best Western before the hurricanes happened. They took about 40,000 cubic yards of sand, the hurricanes did, off of the project area. However, about 30,000 of those cubic yards are still in the system, just accreted elsewhere on the beach inside the project area. So net loss of the entire project area is about 11,000 cubic yards. We will be submitting a Category G public assistance request to FEMA for that sand. So that'll be another project down the road. Either we truck haul it later or possibly do a change order with Aetna to get them to rebuild some beach down there. Overall, the project's going well. Had a little mechanical hiccup at the end of last week, so hopefully we're pumping again by Thursday. And really just want to try and get as much of downtown pumped as possible before we do break down south. As you know, we have the environmental constraint down south with our permit. Shorebirds nesting season starts in March, so we need to be out of there by, I believe it's February 15th. So we're going to hop, skip, and jump there around early December, and hopefully by mid-December, pumping in front of Cresciente and working from north to south in the CWA area.
So thank you, Chad. Nice job on Saturday in your beach talk tour. I thought that was really helpful. But I was unclear on the shift to the south end. I think it's extremely welcome. Don't get me wrong. So mid-December you'll shift south, starting at Cresciente, and it's not just an interim emergency solution. It's the full renourishment. Is that correct?
Yeah, around 300,000 cubic yards are going to be pumped in that area, just as designed by the engineer. So this is the full project. We're just, because of the environmental constraint, we want to get sand there before the hurricane season.
Before time, yeah.
So we're going to make sure we do that and don't run afoul of our permit.
And when we say Cresciente, will it be the renourishment and sort of an emergency berm as well, or just the renourishment?
Yeah. So as far as the berm goes, we have an opportunity with the state. They're asking for how much sand we lost, similar to how they did the Hurricane Ian and Nicole Recovery Fund. We're anticipating, or they've asked us for how much sand and how much money we need for a Helene Milton recovery. So our engineer and I have already working on submitting that by, I believe it's November 27th. We're going to give them a figure for how much sand we lost out of that berm that we had constructed, and hopefully get another berm up there that we can get planted and offer those folks some additional protection in addition to that beach. But the renourishment project itself is in the CW area. The design is only out. FWC didn't want us filling in the lagoon. FWC and FDP didn't want us filling in the lagoon or any of those natural features. So we're just basically building the beach out from there.
If you get approval for that emergency berm money, will that be done in conjunction with the beach renourishment or later?
Everything's on timing. It would probably be done later. Just it all depends on when funding becomes available and how the renourishment project is wrapping up. But I imagine we will be done with the renourishment project before we would be able to get that done. And in addition, the sand that we're taking from the Gulf over there, it's only permitted to go into certain areas, is my understanding. So I'm not sure if we could even put dredge sand that high up outside of the CWA, which is outside of the project area. So
you say that mid-December shift Cresciente, then obviously Estero Beach and Tennis Club, Bermuda Dunes, Leonardo Arms,
all the way to
Riviera,
Suncaper.
all the way to
Suncaper.
Suncaper. Excellent. And that'll be the full renourishment.
Yes, sir. 300,000 cubic yards.
And I thought I saw you say on Saturday, I've heard 200 feet in front of Leonardo Arms, and I thought I heard you say 250.
Around 250, yeah.
250, and obviously that'll naturally recede back.
Mhm.
I think Mike Poff at one point said 75 feet, but maybe with the additional 50, maybe it's even more than that. I guess
It all just depends on what Mother Nature throws at us.
Yeah.
It could be, hopefully it'll be great for another 15 years and it'll all still be there.
So given this paradigm shift, the south end could be completely done before bird nesting season in March, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're committed to
I
getting
think
that
that'll
done.
be of great comfort to a lot of people. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Councilor Woodson?
I'm good. Thank you.
Welcome, Scott.
I'm good. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Jay.
Welcome.
To continue, go ahead, sir.
Did I leave you all, Councilor
Yeah,
King?
you did.
Sorry.
That's
I
all
thought I
right.
started with you.
No, you did not, but thank you. You're talking about the south end and you just said it will end at Sun Caper, correct? So anything south of that will not experience beach renourishment sand.
Correct. But
And-
we are working on, again, the berm would be a separate from the renourishment project and adding some elevation and talk to your neighbors and islands in down there to reinvigorate that berm that was down there.
Can you explain why it will end at Sun Caper and doesn't need to go, I guess, further south or?
Yeah, so similar to the 6,000 block, we can, that permitted project, the renourishment, which is a joint coastal permit, JCP permit. We can only get funding for that kind of permitting, that kind of renourishment, if that shoreline is designated as critically eroded. And that critically eroded designation is from Bowditch to around Lanark, maybe just south of Lanark, as well as that CW area is nominated as critically eroded. So that the beach that y'all are on is accretional, so it'd be difficult. It'd be a engineering feat to somehow get the numbers to say that it's critically eroded. So we can't, in terms of a JCP, we can't do it with that, but we can get creative with just triple CL permits, and as we've done in the past, where we have opportunities to add sand there and get funding, we absolutely will.
And it is because it is an accreting beach, and even though it did take a hit from Ian, it's still considered an accreting beach, correct?
Yes, sir. They look at it over years, if not decades.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks, Chad. Sorry, John, I thought I started with you.
That's all right.
Apologies, sir. To continue, Bayside Veterans Park, we've got a lot of work that we've got to do down there. We're going to electrical. The hurricanes have just taken a beating on the whole street, actually. So we're talking to Kirkwood to get going there. As part of that, the rental fees and things like that, it's $150 an hour for Bayside Veterans Park. So we're going to have to reinstitute that January 1st so we can start collecting some funds so we can continue to redo and upgrade and do those sort of things. We're pretty excited about the opportunity we have down there, and hopefully we can pick some new pavers out, put new pavers as we're doing our underground electrical, trying to get it more conducive to the environment that we find ourselves in with the stormwater and the floods and things that we do have down there. So just to keep you posted on that. Debris removal, I send you the update as they come in. So 342 loads, 15,388 cubic yards so far. They'll make a pass and they make a second pass, and then that's when debris vegetation gets picked up. One thing that FEMA has done, public assistance, rapid debris removal and demolition. They've also now right-of-way debris removal for commercial has been included in that. So they'll be doing that. The county is going to be doing a lot along Estero. They confirmed that with me late last week. So we'll also have our hauler doing that as well. So we should see all of that picked up, hopefully before we get a lot done this week. But I think a lot has been done, and we do appreciate Crowder and the county, and also Andrew. They're out, but and I think ICS had done some as well. And as we see the sand being sifted and moved back out of here for the lighting project to get started back up, so we're working with them. That group got deployed to other parts of the state to work with power outages and things of that nature. So they're coming back here hopefully sooner rather than later, but we stay in contact with them. We are getting the power hooked back up to Bayside Recreation Center right now as we speak, in time for the election, getting a bathroom brought in for tomorrow as well. It's already here. So everything should be set up. I think the equipment sometime around, usually they deliver here around 11 o'clock in the morning. It's already here. So that'll be secure. The building will be secure. We'll have it locked out. Staff will be parking toward the school and down that way. We've got the library to agree to allow us to park in there some too. So we should have some freed up area. However, I have learned that there's been a lot of people have already voted, so I'm not sure what the turnout will be here tomorrow, but we'll be prepared. we'll have staff, we'll have our rangers out there assisting and pointing people in the right direction. And as far as parking, ADA accessible parking will be down behind the facility, and we're putting some additional parking as you get down the street here a little bit. So we're trying to create an environment that's conducive to a very friendly experience for everybody tomorrow. Our swearing in, we're trying to get all the details worked out, and we'll do that as soon as we see what happens tomorrow with 3 seats. Not sure that we'll be able to do it at the town hall, but as soon as we're able to do it at town hall, maybe we'll just recreate a ceremonial swearing in there so we can at least have that down there, strictly because of the way the meeting is being set up. I believe it's probably going to be on the 18th would be my guess in here. So we will proceed as normal. Also, we continue to monitor the tropics. Unfortunately, it gets a little tiring, but it is what we're here for, and that's what we continue to do. So we will send out all the information as we see what's happening later today and tomorrow. We are expecting at least a rain event, and we'll see from there. Frankie's going to update a little bit on drywall permits.
Can you go back to what you talked about with the commercial pickup? That's condos, correct? And that'll be
All
taken care of
commercial,
in the
all
right of way.
commercial,
Okay.
everything that if it's in the right of way. Most of what I saw, and I went down Bay Beach, with the exception of one condo, it seemed like one condo a little bit past town hall, they looked like they had all the furniture from the whole building out there. That seemed to be the worst spot. Everything else looked like debris. It looked like vegetation, not so much household goods and white goods. So that's a good thing, because that's a real easy pick up and clean up and go through, but we need to get that accomplished.
Thank you.
Did I gently hear you infer that Bay Beach Lane may be picked up as well?
All condos, sir.
All right, thank you.
I'm not going to
So-
specify any street.
All right.
Third Street guy.
Someone in a condo building actually asked about that yesterday, so I'm glad you had an idea. I don't know if it's possible under the FEMA guidelines. It was Bay Beach Lane. So a group of people from Bay Beach Lane said, what if we were able to get a dumpster? We've got plenty of volunteers that'd be willing to throw the stuff in the dumpster if we could get a dumpster. Is that something that would be kosher to FEMA if we had a dumpster drop,
No, so
because I got to
once you-
monitor it, I'm
once you
guessing.
put it into they'll consider that a non-approved hauler,
Figured.
and it won't be, they'll have to pay for it. But
Well, this was before,
Yeah.
this discussion was before we just found
Yeah,
out
and-
that commercial pickup is now happening. So
Correct. I did speak with our haulers management, and they're willing to help. I think their fee was $212 an hour, which is not a lot of money if the town had to go in and do that and pay for that ourselves. That's not a lot of money. It would take one haul from what I could see. And that was as of last Wednesday or Thursday when I went in there.
Most of Bay Beach is vegetation now.
Not a lot.
Thank you.
drywall permits, there seems to be some confusion. Mayor Allers brought to my attention, there has been a couple of them where people have come in and gotten their drywall permit and it got rejected with conditions. Conditions for using a more compliant material at base flood. That is actually a line or a statement out of the scheduled Florida Building Code itself. However, it was an interpretation that was not conducive or in the realm of what we're trying to present. So what we did is we had a meeting, myself, our building official, Joe Specht, and John Dahmer from Jacobs Group, all kind of came to a meeting of the minds. Joe Specht is adamant about making sure that people use these materials at or below flood, only because they're constantly being, the last 4 storms we've had over the last 6 months, they're constantly coming in and asking for a permit. And that's kind of where FEMA gets a little itchy too, when you start seeing the same permit for the same thing. The town manager likes to use the phrase, what is the explanation of reasonable
Definition of
insanity,
insanity.
right? And that's it in the FEMA world, constantly coming in for the same permit for the same thing. So that's where the building official rejected. Since then, all those have been reversed and they've been able to go and get the corrected permit with that as a recommended condition. We're not keeping people or trying to tell people that you have to use a specific item. If you're repairing your house, that was the whole initiative here. Come in and get your house repaired quickly at no cost to you. Just explain to us what it was doing or what you were doing, so we could put that with the permit to put with your property. There was a couple other ones that started asking for a breakdown of costs. As those particular houses come in, I think it was pulled by permitting that they might have had active permits and this was being put onto that active permit. Some were just fell through the cracks. Whoever has a problem with a drywall permit, please address it to me. You can either call the front desk and Donna can give you my number, or you can send it to me exclusively at F Kropacek, that's KROPACEK at fmbgov.com. And I will be more than happy to take a look at it, get it straightened out for you, and send it on our way. You're going to run into stuff where people are going to send stuff in. I get that, and they're not going to be able to be helped because they have an open permit or the situation just doesn't dictate them getting a free drywall permit because of whatever condition. We will walk through those people, and I give you my promise to the council that we will find a solution for all homeowners.
Frankie, thank you for all of that. The biggest thing I'm hearing is the inconsistency of rejections for the permit. And some are being required to show receipts, which in my opinion, you're enticing. How do you go out and spend money on something you don't have a permit for? I could see maybe having a receipt for the file for FEMA purposes after you've received it, before you get your sign off on your permit, showing that receipt for your stuff. But beforehand, so there's a lot of inconsistencies. Another one that I've heard was now some are being required or they're being rejected because they don't have a picture from the floor to where the water line was. So there seems to be some inconsistency on what's making it through to get a permit and what's being rejected. So I know for a fact one person has submitted 3 permits for 3 separate houses. One got approved, one got rejected for no receipt, and another one got rejected for no water line, but the first one wasn't required. So it's the inconsistencies there, it seems. So if we can get those worked out to make it much easier. It just, every time it gets rejected, it's more staff time, it's more.
No, we get it. We get it, sir. And with the water line issue and the receipt issue, a lot of those, there's a step process to get your permit reviewed. It has to go through the floodplain manager, and then it finally has to go through our building official to look off at after this. And what happens is we have 2 interpretations, one following the FEMA guidelines or what they perceive to be the FEMA guidelines, and one following the Florida building code. Those 2 butt heads all the time, regardless, even if it was not a drywall permit. We've worked through that somewhat. Again, have the people reach out to me. We will take it on a case-to-case basis, and I guarantee that we'll get to the bottom of it. And I apologize for any delay in getting your permit, but we will fix that internally.
Well, people have been very cordial about it. They just want to make sure they're doing it the right way.
And 99% of them are. To be totally honest, there are a few that we've got that are trying to sneak by more than what they're entitled to, but I think you're going to get that in any case. But yes, this is something that staff will be working on ongoing, and we'll make sure that every citizen gets what they need.
And then Nancy, if you wouldn't mind, some people are putting in for a builder or a homeowner permit to be able to do some of this drywall work. Can you just let people know what they need to submit with their permit as far as a trust, if their home is in a trust, but the trust that's allowed to get an owner builder permit?
Right.
I know
I
there's
think
a
we
certain things-
revisited this issue probably a year ago or so, that a certain type of trust,
Irrevocable trust. and things like that.
right, would basically be almost the functional equivalent of just ownership. But I can go back and work with our building official and with Frankie to make sure that doesn't become a obstacle.
No, it hasn't been an obstacle. I just wanted, I think it's been very clear, but some people that are coming back to town now that are going to start doing the work. I think it was Becky that told me there's just a few things of the trust that you need a few sheets of the trust to submit with the permit to review it, to make sure that it's the right trust. And
The right type of trust.
The right type of trust.
There
yes.
you go. Yes.
So what is it? Is it just the first couple?
I don't know right
Don't-
off.
Okay.
to be
I know I was
honest with
talking
you.
to Becky about it. So,
Yeah.
all right. But if we could put that information up,
We
that's
will
one that I
definitely get that, sir. Yes.
All right. Thanks. Yes,
Mayor,
sir.
I have one more thing. If you guys will indulge me a moment. Monday's Veterans Day. The town hall will be closed, and we know that's great to get a day off for our staff and all that stuff. But it's more than that to me. I used to work with a company that would train dogs for veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder, with military brain injury or sexual trauma while in the military. There's 20 veterans a day that commit suicide. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. We all know veterans. Karen comes to mind right off the bat. I just want people to know I'm here if anybody needs to talk to anybody. This is really near and dear to me. I can't emphasize that enough. And I know this group supports veterans, and they feel the same way, having known them the way I know them. So just wanted to put that out there.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Andy. That's all you got? That's
Yes,
it?
sir.
Okay. Town attorney items.
Yes, I may need some help with our town manager on these items, but your management and planning agenda has gone out to you. There are 2 items that have come up in the meantime that we would like to go ahead and amend that agenda that has been published. And board, your appointment process. A couple concerns came up. We went back, we looked at your process. You appear to be following it as it's written. However, we noted that there are some things that can be improved to pretty much provide greater transparency and address any other issues that have come up. So we would like to add that item to your M&P agenda on Thursday, so you can have some discussion about possible changes to your existing procedures for that. And that will address the MRF issue that came up as well. The other item is
When you say it'll address the MRF issue as well,
the voting. It just kind of the MRF issue. I think you had asked me about it at the last meeting. We looked into it, and yes, there does appear to be a mathematical mistake made as far as the count of the votes. And so what we'd like to do is address the process so that there's a better check and balance on that, as well as more transparency.
What about the mistake itself? We're just going to let that go through, or does it need to be
No.
corrected?
There
or-
would be a revote on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the issue really comes up with when there's a tie. And your rules as they're written right now are a little confusing.
Okay.
We're going to try to simplify it.
And that revote would probably be on the 18th then, if they're.
Yes, it would have to be at a council
meeting.
meeting where you can take action.
Gotcha. Thank you.
The other one is related to Seagate. So we would like to propose adding to your M&P agenda for discussion purposes your procedural rules for these development agreements. Seagate has kind of been, I'm going to call them the guinea pig. This is a brand new process. We created rules very quickly. We have tried to use that process, but a couple little things have come up. And so we would like to bring those to council and have some discussion about it. Again, focusing on transparency, fairness, making sure that it is consistent with what Florida law requires, as well as your code of land development code. So those 2 items, unless there's an objection, I'd like to go ahead and have those added.
Could you just give just a quick example, if there is such a thing as a quick example of what you're talking about reforming in the development agreement
Sure.
process?
So there's a distinction in Florida law. We have statutory development agreements, and they are they can be quasi judicial. They could also be legislative. Then you also have authority under the Florida Constitution to have home rule development agreements. And the requirements for the statutory are written in Florida law, but with the home rule development agreement, you have more flexibility. And because the way that your development agreement ordinance is written, it is intended to be a vehicle for different types of developments. So they can come to you and you can review them on a case-by-case basis. The way that the procedural rules are written now, they're a little bit more restrictive, and it could actually preclude some types of developments coming to you. So we want to bring that to your attention and make it a tool that we can really use. The analogy I use is, that car, we're driving the car, we've got a project that's going through, but we created the car and then we're driving it at the same time. So there's little glitches that we would like to address. Another example would be that it says a minimum of 2 public hearings, and that was copied from the statute. We actually are doing 3 public hearings. Again, more transparency, more input from the public, because we are adopting them by ordinance rather than by resolution. Some development agreements, depending on what the specific terms and conditions are, could be adopted by resolution. But if it has something related to zoning in it, it would need to comply with Florida statute, which would be the 3 public hearings. So again, kind of running into a couple little things that we'd like to address. But it's not Seagate. We're not going to be talking about Seagate on Thursday. We were going to be talking about the process.
Very good. Thank you. That it?
That's it.
Okay. Then we'll go to council member items and reports. Council King,
Nothing.
Vice Mayor Idaho,
Nothing additional.
Council Woodson,
I'm good.
Council Stafford.
Since this is the last day of the 3 of our terms, I want to thank each and every one of you for giving me the opportunity to serve the last 9 months. It's been an absolute honor. So thank you.
Has it been that long already?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't mean it that way. I just meant
Yeah, I lost more hair.
I just meant it seems like it's gone. 9 months have gone fast. That's it.
That's it.
The only thing I have is the 5th and Crescent area. Did we just? I thought we talked about putting up signs on there. I know the stop sign came down, but was there discussion? I can't remember about putting a sign up as you're going down Crescent towards 5th to exit the island to say that downtown, if you're going to go to the downtown, continue straight versus turning left, because there's a lot of people making U-turns there. I know we talked about it. I don't know if it's downtown that goes through. And then the other corner, there's no sign up that says through traffic does not stop. So there's a lot of
Right.
one finger salutes going on
Oh, yeah.
to people that you're trying to turn and they're not stopping. So if we could get those 2 things addressed.
And then there's people stopping that
Yeah.
shouldn't be stopping.
Right,
and
keep
pulling
moving.
traffic.
Yeah, to keep, and then have we gotten any update? I know we've been going round and round with FDOT. Have we gotten any movement with them as far as trying to get a lane open before season?
No, we're on the next meeting. I believe it's Thursday's their next meeting, Wednesday or Thursday. I will be broaching that. I do have the contact with their, finally got that contact of their manager or the
Project
project
manager.
manager. So I'll follow up with him, see if there's anything at all they can do to help alleviate at least either part of the day or, the majority of the day or something like that.
Because, we're starting to see the traffic back up, as the
Yeah.
world shifts on its axis. It's snowing in Minnesota, the Packers lose, things like that. People
Ouch.
start coming south. So we need to. Sorry,
Yes, sir. We
Scott.
do understand the
So we need to.
NFL dynamic here.
So we need to see if we can revisit them.
Yeah.
Press them a little harder to
We
get
will.
something open there to alleviate that traffic would be great. That's all I have. Anything else?
Nice shot.
I know. I had to do it.
Sure.
Fair,
I
sir.
think we're
It's
kidding
out there.
ourselves if
Rain,
we think we're going to beat the Lions. Anyone.
All right. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All right. Got a motion by Counselor